Hello, my name is Doris and I am Little Bird Products. Thank you for being here. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. And if this is your first time here, welcome. Oh, and please do subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. It really does help the channel. What I want to do in this video is, first of all, give you the results of the survey from this last week, and I want to thank all of you who gave me comments and your feedback. I really do appreciate that. Sitting here and not doing craft shows in the summertime, it's difficult to get feedback that I need on new things that I'm making. So I really appreciate it when you give me comments. If you remember in Wednesday's video, what I did was I asked you questions about your preferences about my bloomers and my slip dresses so that I could determine what I want to make for the rest of the week for my bloomers and slip dresses moving forward. The results of that survey are in, and pardon me if I look at my list here. When it comes to the slip dresses or tunics, I think the majority of people voted for the tunic length or a shorter dress, a dress that's below your knees but not down to your ankles. So that fits with the Zelda dress that I've been making because they're a little higher in the front, a little lower in the back. They have a ruffle. They're approximately knee length. They're a little bit longer. So they fit for a tunic. Depending on the amount of fabric I have, I can make them all the way around knee length, or I can make them knee length in the front, a little longer in the back. So that's great because my primary pattern for those, I think, will be the Zelda, or it might be the Luna. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then when it comes to the bloomers, I had 4 different questions about that. And one was about the waist, and predominantly everybody likes the idea of having elastic at the waist. I don't think anyone likes the ties, and I did make one pair of bloomers for myself that has a ribbon tie, and I'm going to take that ribbon tie out and replace it with an elastic tie because the elastic tie fits for both ways that you're wearing it. What I do with mine, I like the flexibility of having the elastic tie, and basically I tie it in a double bow, and then I leave it tied because it goes up and down over my hips and it's very comfortable. But as an alternative for some of them, I'll use the 1.5-inch elastic depending on the material that's in it. If the material is a little heavier cotton, I like using the 1.5-inch wide elastic and just doing an elastic waistband. So that meets with what people were telling me. And as opposed in response to the ruffles, yes or no, people like ruffles. If you have ruffles, they 1 layer or 2 layers. Nobody voted for the 4 layers, but everyone likes ruffles, but they don't have to be ruffled, which is nice because that gives me flexibility. And pockets. Well, everybody loves pockets, but if there's pockets in the overdress, the slip dress, then they don't necessarily have to have pockets in the bloomers. And based on all of that feedback, the pattern that I have landed on is I'm going to be using the Zelda pattern from Tina Givens. You can use just about any pattern. The Plinka pattern by Tina Givens is a free pattern, and you can modify it a little bit to meet all of these needs, but I'm going to be using the Zelda pattern because I'm going to be using the Zelda for the slip dress. And later on in this video, what I'll be doing is filming, cutting out and making that Zelda pattern, and also giving you some feedback on a couple of different ways that you can do the bottom, the trimming. I'm going to be showing you doing a ruffle is very easy. There's also the way the Zelda pattern is made itself. It has, I'm going to call it ruching. It's kind of a different way of doing it, and it's cute. It's the one in the earlier video like this that has the red polka dot, and it shows where you do that little ruching. And basically it's gathering, and then you put a band on it. I do that gathering, but I don't necessarily do the band quite like that, and you'll see that in this one where I've put some lace trim, a little lacy ruffle instead of the band on the bottom. And it's very flexible because you can also take that same place where you would do the ruffles and you can just do a dart, and that you can make it more lantern shaped. So you can, it has a lot of flexibility, and I like the shape of the leg of the Zelda. So I'm going to be using the Zelda pattern. And also the other thing about the Zelda pattern, and I'll show you when I do the video, and you know I don't like scraps, but when you cut it out of a pillowcase, which is my preferred fabric to use for the bloomers, that piece that you cut out makes a perfect pocket for the front. It makes a nice big long pocket. And the way that the pattern works, it's very easy to put the pocket in before you finish the leg. So, ease of making, plus you get the pockets, plus it's easy to do the waist. So I think I really got the feedback that I needed, and I appreciate it. And so moving forward, I'm going to take that feedback and continue to make my Zelda pattern. Now on to another topic. This is going to be twofold for this week. I did use, talking about free patterns, one of my other YouTube peeps, my rebel friends that makes bloomers. She had a video a week or so ago on making the Luna pattern, which is a free one, and I'll link to that in the description. And that's what this is. And I'll show you here a picture of this, and in the end I'll have a little dancing video of me wearing it. I like the material that I used, but I did make it oversized, and in making it oversized, I really made it oversized. So I make it more, this one is more of a, I think it's a 4X almost. It's very size forgiving. I made the longer version of the Luna, but what I had to do is I had to do these little what I call tucks, but it's, you know, just a little fold over in the front to make it just a little more fitted for me, and the armholes are a little large on this. But I like it. It's nice and airy. So this one is going to be mine. I'm not going to put it in the store. The next one I make, I will probably size it down a little, but I did use bias binding trim. I like this lightweight cotton, and I think it's going to be one of my go-to tops for the rest of the summer in this 100-degree heat that we're having here in Houston. So I will show you some pictures of the Luna, this Luna that I made, and put a few comments in here about how I made it. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned and watch the rest of the video. Let me see if I had any other notes. I think that's pretty much it for this week. So stick around if you want to see me making the Zelda bloomers, because they're going to be my go-to bloomers. And as I film that and show you, I'll talk about why I like that pattern better than my other patterns. And it's a pretty easy pattern. So if you're into patterns, you might want to invest in that. Or, you know, you can get the free Plinka pattern and download that, and you can modify it, I think, based on some of the comments and some of the ways that I'm making the Zelda pattern. So have a great week. Enjoy your bloomers. Enjoy your summer. And I'll talk to you later. Bye. All righty then. Get this camera angle up. This is my Zelda pattern. And this is... Whoops. Make sure I have the right camera angle there. And these are my latest pair of Zelda bloomers. And you can see where I have used an elastic tie for the waist. And the way I did that is I threaded it, rolled down the top just a little bit, and then I threaded it through here. And the thing I like about these like this, I am going to put something on the very end, like a button knob and stuff, so they don't roll back through. But what I like about them is that they're a drawstring, but when I have them around my waist and I get it to the point where I really like it, then I not only tie it like this, right? Then I tie it, the bow in another knot. So I can get it undone when I want to, but that way I can get them down over my hips really, really easily. And so I don't have to keep tying and untying the darn thing. which I don't like. Now what I'm going to show you too on these for what I made, because there's only there's one pattern piece, and you cut it twice, and I'll show you that. I'll line one up and cut it and show you. But this is the way, this is one pillowcase, and that is one leg. And then this is the piece that gets cut out. I make a nice big pocket. Now the next time I make them, I'm going to cut this off and not make the pocket quite so long, because it doesn't need to be that big. But what's nice about this is because this is just one piece of fabric, and I'll show you that here when I do a cutting and show you what it looks like. You can lay that out, lay it flat, one leg out, and it's really nice because then you can put this pocket on before you sew it back together because it's laid out. You can do the legs. This is that little ruching that I talked about earlier in the video. And really it's just like 3 little pleats up the leg. I just do 3 little pleats, and I do two on one side and then 2 on the other side of each leg. And then this case, this is where the band, they talk about putting a band around the leg. What I did here is I just gathered a piece of lace. And what you can do with this, instead of making these little pleats up the side here, what you can do is in that same spot, you can make a dart, either an outside and out extroverted dart or an introverted dart, just to slim the leg a little, and that'll give it that lantern shape. So you can do a lot of different things with this, or you can do no dart at all, no ruching there, just leave it flow gently down, and then you can put your ruffles on there if you want to make it longer. This is more capri length on me, and so the pattern piece is it's more capri length. But if you look at the pattern piece here, you'll see it has a lot of different sizes. And what I typically do, sorry for moving my camera all the way around, what I typically do with this is I make the largest size, because you can always cut something down, pull it in, make it less full if you want. But I'm a 2X. This makes it about a 3X. And it's plenty big. It's plenty roomy. And then what you can do is, you see down here, here's the markings for those pleats. And the markings are, this is the small, an extra small line, and this is for the other lines. So I taken 5 inches from the edge. That's where I consider that. So that's what I used for the pleating. I kind of like them when they're just a pleat in there, to just gather it and make it a lantern shape, and then you can put your, whatever you want your finishing touches to be on it. So this, I'll get a pillowcase and show you just exactly what this is like. I am going to make a pair of black ones out of these black pillowcases. And if you're a taller person and you want it longer, just use a king size pillowcase. Now you see how this, let me lay this out. For me, because I like them capri length, right? The capri length is just about a regular size pillowcase. So what I do, sometimes if you need to have that length and you only have a regular size pillowcase, what you can do is drop it down a little bit, and you can, or actually what I'm going to say is move it up to the bottom of the pattern, comes to the bottom of the, the bottom of the pillowcase. I'll pull it up so you can see it a little better. Yeah, see? And so it comes to the bottom of the pillowcase, and then you'll see here, it just makes it to the edge of the largest size. But up here, you don't have quite enough material. Well, what you do is you just get some more complementary material and just add a piece on the top, because that way that would be your waistband. So you just add your waistband on later. So you use the whole pillowcase. And I think for these, oh, they're the black ones. I'm trying to think if I would want to have that be longer than capri length. I'm thinking I'm going to make them just like before, and I'm going to use the entire top here. I'm going to make them shorter because I can add my ruffle on the bottom to to make the length. So, showing you how I cut these, I'm going to line it right up here in the top. What I do is just going to put a couple of my little clips here. And then I'm going to use my pattern weights that I made. To scratch the fabric and some charms that I had. Now the first thing I'm going to do, just because I'm doing it this way, is just verify that I've got it where I want it, and I do. All right, and then I'm going to come around here and start cutting. And what I do is, when I get up here, because this does, I'm just going to cut along the edge as far as I can. See, that makes it a little bit smaller. And this material that I'm cutting off right here is going to become that big pocket that I showed you before. So you save this, never get rid of any scraps. And now, according to the pattern, this is the 3X, okay? And I like I said, I like to make them bigger. And this is the only waist that I'm going to have in the pillowcase. Now, after I do that, that's actually cutting the pattern. I have to cut the pillowcase open at the bottom because cut this little bit off. I love pillowcases. And you can use, you know, your regular cotton fabric for this too. You don't have to use a pillowcase. I just happen to get pillowcases. They're nice cotton pillowcases. They're inexpensive to buy. They're nice material. I get the 100% cotton ones. Now, what else I do while I have it like this, right? I know where these lines are for the pleats, the ones that I use. I know that they are 5 inches from the edge. And I know that, but I'll flip this up and I just put a little line there where I know that pleat's going to be, just so I remember it. And that's it. That's the complete pattern piece for these bloomers. Isn't that nice? So easy. Now, I put the other pillowcase underneath this and cut both of them out at once, but I'll use this as the pattern for the other one. But I want to show you this because it's so cool. Okay, there is one leg, right? And that's going to be the waist, all right? And so what I'll do is I'm going to serge everything because I like all of my seams serged. And then after I get my seams serged, what I will do is I will take this, my pocket piece. I'm going to decide how tall or how short I want it to be. And let's just say I was going to use the whole thing like I did on my other one. Here's the center of the leg, and you just take that, put it right over the center. I take it down a little bit. I like my pockets a little lower, right? And then I'm just going to stitch around it, and I have my pocket. And then while it's open like this, you can take and you can add any embellishment that you want to it. You know, if you want to applique something on it, if you want to put like this, you know, put some fancy little doilies on it, you know, frou-frou it all up, just remembering this is the side leg and this is your crotch. So wherever you want these, see, that looks kind of cute there. So you can do that if you want to paint on them, you want to distress them or do anything. These just one leg at a time. It works perfect. I mean, I just love it. So I'm just going to show you, just to talk you through what I do with them. Okay, so now let's pretend I have all of that put on there, patched. I have it marked on the bottom. Then let's just say that I'm going to take and sew these as pleats. Well, while this is opened out, I just take this and I would turn that pleat over and sew that pleat. Okay? Or sometimes what I do is I'll even finish the bottom of the leg, put my ruffles on and everything, and then, you know, have it be a part of the seam. Now the next thing I would do on this is here at the top, because this is going to be my waistband, okay? I just top stitch that and then stitch it down so I have a little channel, you know, for that to go through, okay? Now, what will happen is, because this is the crotch seam, I just have to be careful about how I finish, you know, the edge of this, because I don't want to close up the end, the center end of this, nor the center end of that, okay? So you can do that however you wish. You can fold this down after you have everything assembled. Sometimes I do that too, but everything, it's just perfect because everything is finished. And I always leave, you know, the crotch seam here, I leave that open, that hole, so I can use that channel to slide my elastic through. So that's it, that's all there is. Pattern piece, mark it here, and then use however you want to finish the leg. And I'll show you again what mine looks like that I just finished making, and we'll talk about a little more just about how I like to finish the legs of this. And you can see while I had this open, what I did is I put a little applique on the leg of that. And that was easier to do, and it was easier to do these little ruffles there. And I also sewed this down before I put the legs together. So your side seams are already done. This is the leg. The next thing that you do when you do that, right, is you take and sew up the inside leg. And then what you'll do is you put one leg inside the other so that it's right sides to right sides. And then you sew the crotch seam. So it's, you know, it's really simple to do those bloomers. Now what I'm going to do in the next pair that I make, I'm going to, instead of making it ruffled like that, I'm going to make the darts in the leg. I'm going to have it extend down a little more, and then I'm going to put material at the bottom on my black ones. I think I'm going to use, I don't know whether I'm going to use white. I might use some white, that lacy, like this material for the ruffle at the bottom. Or I do have some cotton material that I really like. Oh, I know what I'm going to do for my black ones. I am going to, you'll have to watch for these to come. I'm going to use this cotton material I have because I'm going to make a Zelda slip dress out of this. And I'll use this for the ruffle at the bottom of my black bloomers. I think that'll be perfect. So I'm not going to make those until next week. This is going to be a short video for this week. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to cut the Zelda bloomers. It's just as easy to cut the Zelda slip dress. Here's my pattern for the Zelda slip dress. I made it out of just a piece of drop cloth. And there's really like nothing to it. You see, it's one pattern piece. And what I'll be doing with this, the only thing you have to be careful of is when you're working with a fabric that has a definite directionality to it, which this does, see, with the writing. For the Zelda slip dress, it also is cut on the fold, and that's this. And so what I do is lay that out so it's up and down with the directionality. Lay it out, and this will have a little less at the bottom because you see how that goes over. The fabric is just not quite wide enough, but that's all right. It just will have less of a flare at the bottom. And I might make this just a little shorter, and that way, because it's pretty long, the Zelda slip dress is pretty long.
So what I might do is, like right here, see how that's there? And this Zelda slip dress is pretty long. So what I probably do is make it, but instead of making it all the way there, this is going to be like that. So what I'll do is probably just make it this long. And so then what that would be, I take shortcuts for everything. That, if I measure, is going to be 28 inches, and that's the nice way that I like to do it. And then what I'll do is for the added length at the bottom, I'll do the ruffle and make the ruffle go around, so it'll be 30 inches in the back. So that's what I'll do when I go to cut out my Zelda slip dress. And then I'll make my ruffles for the tunic pants out of that too. So I will show this outfit to you next week because I'm not going to get it done this week. This is going to be really cute, I think. Now I have to remember when I do this to make it curved because I do want a curved hem. And so I cut two pieces. This is one side, and then I have to do the neck too, because the neck, see how the neck for the front neck comes down a little bit? So that'll be one difference. And so what I'll do is cut out one pattern piece, and then I will make sure that I use that pattern piece then as the pattern for the front, so that I keep them the same. And the nice thing about this is I'm going to use this scrap piece of the fabric that's done. I'll use this for a pocket on the slip dress. Make sure you put in the comments below any comments that you have. Thank you.